Hi friends, how's everybody doing today? Welcome to my first question and answer video. As promised, I've been collecting some of your questions and comments and I'm here to answer them for you. I have a couple questions first. Just general questions about my channel and about my life. And then I have a bunch of questions about my family estrangement. So to start off with, I've had several questions asking if I would do a video talking more about my product testing. And the quick answer is yes. I will do that. Actually have that on the table on my to-do list. I'm not sure how long it'll be, but it is something that I am working on. It's kind of funny because when I started my channel, product testing was one of my ideas for like one of my main niches here, and then I kind of decided against that when I saw all the interest in the family estrangement topic. But I'm willing to listen to you guys, and whatever you'd like to hear more about, my life, my mobile home, the family estrangement. Pretty much an open book, with limits, of course. So go ahead and just answer or ask all your questions. But yeah, as far as the product testing, I will just put out something general about how it all works, and then I'll take it from there depending on interest or not. Alrighty, and let's go on to the next question. Okay, this one is a difficult one for me. This was somebody wanting to know if I'd be willing to share more details about my stepsister's tragedy. And for those of you who haven't heard me in a couple of my other videos, when I was 17, my 16-year-old stepsister was unalived. And don't mind me looking at my notes because I wrote a couple things down because this is a very sensitive topic for me. This happened way back in 1975, in August of 1975. I had just graduated in June of 1975 from high school. And, well, I guess go back just a little bit. My parents divorced when I was like 13, and my father remarried a woman who had 5 children. And this is my stepmom's oldest child, Debbie. And because of issues with my mother, I had lived with my father and stepmother and my step siblings on and off for a couple years. So Debbie and I were quite friendly, even though I only knew her for a couple years. I was camping that summer with my cousins, and we had gotten a message saying that Debbie was missing, and she was missing for several days. And then she was found. So, yeah, it was very tragic. My mom blamed her, said it was all her fault. She brought it on herself. It took a long time before we had a suspect and a private investigator. It was all over the news around the whole United States at that time, and it was before social media, and I couldn't imagine what it would be like today with social media and how true crime goes. I am a true crime fan, so I know how that goes. But it was all over the news, newspapers, magazines, talk shows, you name it. But at the time, after she was found, and I don't know how much I can say here on YouTube because it's such a sensitive topic, and I'm new here. Let me just pause for a second. During the time that we did not know who was responsible for this, I was told that it was most likely somebody who knew the family. And, you know, I do realize now, being a true crime fan, that that's typically the case. It's typically not a stranger. It's typically somebody known to the family. And in this case, it did turn out to be the case. But during that time, while they were trying to figure out who did this, I was petrified. I was totally petrified. I thought whoever did this, because they knew the family was going to come for me next. So that was like a really hard time. My dad, my stepmom had a celebration of life for Debbie. And I wanted to go really bad, and I drove there, and this is something I've never said publicly or even to any of my family members outside of my wife, but I drove there and I parked on the street, and I was such a wreck. I couldn't go in. I just sat there in the car sobbing for I don't know how long, and then I drove home and I never went in there, and I've always carried guilt over that. But I'm sure Debbie knows. So let me show you a picture of her. And since I'm in selfie mode, the title would be backwards. This is a book that just came out earlier this month. Let me flip my camera around so I can show you the entire book. Okay, so ultimately, the person responsible for this turned out to be her teacher, a favorite teacher, not only of hers, but of many of the students at her high school. He was not only her teacher, but her cheerleading coach. And to top it off, he was also a friend of the family of my dad and my mom. When I was young, him and his first wife, I believe, I was told would come over and visit us when us kids were little. So ultimately he was convicted and he was sent to prison. He got a life sentence without any parole. And he died in prison at the age of 83, 5 years ago in the year 2020. I believe he had died from COVID complications and something else. I'm not sure what else he had. There is a movie out about Debbie's story. This came out in 2019, and it's called The Lake Erie Murders, Season 1, Episode 4, High School Horrors. You can find that on Amazon Prime. I believe it costs $2.99 to watch that one particular episode. I believe it might even be on Hulu now, but I don't have Hulu, so I'm not sure. Also, you can Google her name, Debbie Gama, Gama, and you will find the entire story and a whole bunch of stuff about it. So yeah. Okay, so if you'd like me to clarify anything about that, that's fine. Just ask, and I'll move on to the estrangement questions now. Okay, the estrangement stuff. And I just want to start off by saying, keep your comments respectful. Negative, or not negative, but disrespectful, rude, and judgmental comments I will simply delete. They don't bother me. None of you guys can hurt me any worse than, the situation with my family estrangement. But I delete them because I'm trying to keep this a supportive community and a safe place for us to be. So, yeah, I just wanted to say that up front. I don't mind disagreements, and I don't mind constructive criticism. So, that being said, I know a lot of this stuff are various things that I've already talked about in different videos, but I don't mind talking about them again, and I'm sure not all of you have probably heard what I've had to say. And the first question I had was to please, if I would explain this family narrative that I talk about. And this is difficult for me to explain, so I'll do my best. A family narrative is basically the story a family tells about its members. Every family has a family narrative, and the family narrative can be good, could be bad narrative. It could be like Uncle John is always the one that makes us laugh, or they can say the whole entire family is silly, or such and such a family, we are good cooks because we're Italian. It could be the family knows themselves as good people because they volunteer to help people a lot. So there's all that kind of good narrative. And then there are the bad narratives. For example, there's the bad narrative, like in my family, is nobody talks about their problems. I mean, that's just what my family is known for. Nobody talks about the issues in my family. And when one person is singled out within that family narrative, they become the family scapegoat. And that's me. And don't mind me looking at my notes because I don't want to miss anything. So in my case, ever since childhood, I've been singled out as being the one at fault, the lazy one, the odd one, the different one, the bad one, the one who's at fault, the one who doesn't care about family. That's always what my family has had, this narrative about me, and has painted that picture for me. And the list goes on, and it has developed, and people have added to it over the years. None of it's true, but this is the story that has been created about me. It started with my mom when I was a child, and I believe it even goes back to her childhood when she was a child. And I know this because of the things that she has told me, or she used to tell me. I did not treat my daughters the way my mother treated me. I did not. So all I can surmise is that my daughters witnessed my mother treating me in this negative way, which carried into my adulthood. After I was an adult, married, and a mother, my mother was still treating me in a way that she should not have been. And every time she did that, I would cry, I would go off in a corner, I would just take it. I never stood up for myself. And even though nothing was ever said, I am sure that my daughters, even as adults, picked up on that. And sometimes I used to wonder, well, they saw me standing back and accepting this behavior that I shouldn't have accepted, so maybe they felt that it was okay for them to not treat me well either. And that kind of fits in with the whole family narrative, in my opinion. I used to think, well, maybe something is wrong with me. Why does everybody dislike me so much? I wasn't abusive. I wasn't doing anything bad. I made the normal mistakes as a daughter, mother, sister. Nothing extraordinary, nothing horrible by any means at all. My kids were very well provided for. I wasn't rich by any means, but they had everything they needed. More recently, when family members have just begun going along with this narrative, I know that it's not me, because many of these family members don't even know me. They don't know me at all. How can you judge somebody you don't know? Like, I'm looking in the camera at you guys right now. I can't judge any single one of you guys. I don't know you. Even if I had met one or two of you in person for a couple times briefly, like 20 years ago, I don't know you. So these family members of me have just participated in this negative family narrative about me and been super rude and disrespectful, and they don't even know me. And that's just one of the ways that I know it's not just me. Some of the other ways are the fact that, as far as I know, I'm the only liberal in my family, and my family seems to have issues with that. I'm also the only gay one in my family, as far as I know. And there are also issues with that, although those are not spoken out loud. So I'm definitely the outsider. And if you've seen my video, I called it, Am I the Common Denominator? I go into all this a bit more. So let me go on to the next question. I'm looking at my questions over here. One of the questions I got was, would my daughters be willing to go to family counseling with me? Well, obviously I can't speak for them. I would suspect that they would not do that, mainly because I could never even get them to talk with me. So to even be able to broach the subject, would you be willing to go to counseling? I could never get past the screaming at me and the disrespect and the rudeness. Our conversations never even went past that with any of my family members. So no, I don't. I mean, I'd be more than willing. I'm sitting here. I don't want to blame anybody. I'm not here to place blame. The naysayers say I don't take accountability. Well, I do take accountability. I take accountability for the things I know. I take accountability for the mistakes that I'm aware of. I'm truly sorry if I hurt anybody. I know I never did it intentionally. But if nobody's going to talk to me, where do things go from there? So let's go on to the next question. Somebody asked if there was anybody in my family that I am close enough to where I could ask their opinion as to why my girls distanced themselves from me. And the answer is no. I'm not close to anybody in my family. Our family is not a close one. It's a small one, but I'm not close to anybody. And this estrangement stuff's been going on in my family for decades, way back, starting with my brother in the 1980s. But I was close to my youngest daughter, and one day I asked her this very question about my middle daughter, because my middle daughter was the first one I was estranged from. So I asked my youngest daughter, who also at the time was quite upset because her sister was also mad at her. So I asked her in my attempt because I wanted to fix things. I wanted to understand. I wanted to know what I was doing wrong so I could fix it or change it or meet in the middle. And I wasn't getting any answers from my middle daughter. I asked my youngest daughter if she knew why, and she got really angry at me. And that was, like I said, we were close. That was the first time she ever showed anger at me. And it was really shocking to me. It was out of the blue, and it was after she had talked to her middle sister. So I don't even know what to say about that. She was angry, but she told me at the time, she said, "Mom, don't put me in the middle." And I never wanted to do that. That wasn't my intention. And so I respected that boundary. And for years, I respected that boundary. I never did ask her just anything else about it. I didn't even, like I said, we don't speak in my family. So she made it clear she didn't want to talk about it. And I couldn't talk to the one that was angry at me. I tried, and that didn't work. So she did tell me that she was aware of what the problem was, that she had talked with her sisters, but she wasn't going to tell me. So that was also, I thought, weird. And I'm like, I questioned her about it. I'm like, well, I think this is kind of strange. I don't know. They won't tell me, but you know. It was just, I don't even know how to explain it. It's just weird. So let me see. What else was I going to say about this? But anyway, so I don't trust anybody in my family now. This narrative, my family all runs to each other and gossips about me behind my back. And I do know this as fact. I did put out one video one day about the gossip in my family. So I don't trust anybody to even dare to ask anybody if they could enlighten me with anything. So there's that. But really, it's like I have peace now, and a lot of my peace was when I stopped asking why, and I really don't care why anymore. It is what it is, and I'm sure they have their whys and their stories, and that's what it is, and I'm just going on and living my life. The thing is, nobody in my family is willing to talk. That's the big problem. It's communication. Nobody Uh, Nobody, I mean, I shouldn't say nobody, because I am. I've always been more than willing to talk. Come to me and talk to me. Let's talk about it. Let's fix it. But nobody, that's not been their motto, and I can't change them. I don't want to change them. If that's how they want to be, and if they don't want me in their life, which they've made clear, then okay. I mean, that's fine. I'm not going to wallow in it. I have my life. I have plenty of things to look forward to, and I'm not going to define my worth just because I have a bunch of disrespectful family members. Let's go on. The next question is, somebody wanted to know if I miss my daughters and if I'm ever tempted to reach out. And the short answer is, of course I miss my daughters, but what I miss are the girls that they used to be, the fun that we used to have, the laughter and the memories of the things that we had. And if you think about it, that also gives me a sense of peace, because they can take their current lives away from me and their future lives, but they cannot take the past from me. I gave birth to them. I have vivid memories of giving birth to each of them, holding them and caring for them as infants, playing with them as children, putting them first in my life for so many years. They can't take that from me. What I don't miss the girls that they've become. And I find it really sad, because every single one of them have really great qualities about them. It's just this disrespectful behavior that they turned into. That's unacceptable to me. And they have a right to their anger. Of course they have a right to their anger, whatever that anger may be. I'm just saying, the disrespect, screaming, and rudeness, that's where I draw the line. Like, no. No, I'm not. I also am not tempted to reach out, and I'll tell you the reason why. Because I am estranged from my whole family, and you have to realize this started with my youngest brother back in the 80s. And I used to reach out and beg, like what I felt was begging. Please talk, let's work this out. I mean, everybody in life has disagreements. I don't expect him to approve of everything I did or didn't do, just as I never expected that from him either. I wasn't going to hold a grudge. I'm just saying, talk to me about it. Don't let it dictate that we don't have a relationship for the entire rest of our life, because I find that silly and ridiculous. But I can't make them. But my point here is, I tried with my mother. I tried with my youngest brother. And my other brother, who I'm estranged from, he's just one of those silent ones who just gets angry and ghosts me. For God knows what. I can speculate on that. But all the silent ones in my family who just don't know me and just get rude out of the blue, and when I've tried to nicely question what was going on, just more rudeness and disrespect. And then when my middle daughter in 2016 decided to toss me out like a piece of trash, we spent a period of several months trying to talk things out. We did it in person and we did it on the phone, and every single time she just met me with screaming, rudeness, and disrespect, always. And I was not acting that way. I came into those meetings with her in a very positive frame of mind, wanting to know what was going on, what the problem was, what I could do to fix things, what am I doing wrong, what am I not doing that would you like me to do? And I never get any answers from her, just screaming and disrespect. And I had this limbo, like one minute I'd have hope, and the next I'd be sobbing, and then hope, and then sobbing, and this just went on for months until it finally ended for good. And she made it clear. She made it clear that, hate is a strong word, but that's how she's come off toward me, that she hates me. And you'd have to ask her. I'm sure she's got some reason. So then when my oldest daughter wrote me off, a few years after that, when she started with this disrespect, again, totally out of the blue, because both of my girls had been very supportive, and this was just like a sudden thing, believe it or not. When she started with the disrespect, I said, I said that to myself, I'm not going to go back and forth with this. Me calmly asking you what's going on, what did I do wrong, blah, 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 and then getting disrespect back. I tried it once, got the disrespect back, so, here I go again. Same with my mother, same with my brother, same with my middle daughter. I'm like, that's it. So that's why, in a nutshell, why I'm not willing or tempted to reach out, because I'm protecting my mental health. I have found peace now, and I'm not going to put myself in a situation where history has proven that I'm going to be treated like a piece of shit, basically. And I don't deserve that. And I know I get all kinds of negative comments from people who are not an estranged parent, who don't understand and are just quick to automatically blame the mother. But those are just myths, and you can believe what you want to believe. And I say, why are you here listening and giving my channel views? Anyway, on to the next question. Let's see here. This person asked, just curious, when you said that you were going to stay with your daughters for 3 months each, was this your idea or theirs? And were they 100% good with this setup? So the answer is, the arrangement was totally mutual. Both of my daughters were 500% in support of it. In fact, I stayed with my middle daughter first, and prior to me coming to Florida and moving in with her for those 3 months, I had what I thought was a really good phone conversation with her. And I know how my family is. We're not communicators. We don't talk. But I put it out there because I wanted to prevent anything from possibly happening. So I asked her, I said, please, if while I'm staying at your house, if I'm doing anything wrong, anything you don't like at all, or if you want me to do something that I'm not doing, please tell me, because communication is very important. Well, that phone call went really well, and I thought, okay, we're good to go. And in fact, when I did move into her home for 3 months, there were no issues. Nothing. I mean, I take it back. Like, her husband can be very picky about certain things. And apparently, coming home from work one night, my tire went off the driveway into their grass a little bit. And you know those little flags they put in your yard after your yard's been treated? Apparently I knocked that over or something like that, if my memory serves me right. And I was asked, please not to do that again. Well, I don't remember doing it, but I apologized, and, you know, I'm sorry, I'll be more careful. But that was like no big thing, fine. She did put a couple boundaries on me. One of her boundaries was that I must spend Christmas morning at her home with her family and not at my oldest daughter's house. I had to spend Christmas morning at her home, and that's a whole nother story. So fine, I agreed to that. If it is so important to her, okay. The other boundary is, she said she didn't expect that while I was staying with her that I would be a babysitter for her kids. And that there's a whole story like behind that I don't know. I don't want to make this video too long. She didn't want me to feel like she was using me to take care of her kids. She didn't want me to feel like I had to do housework. Like, she didn't want me to feel obligated to, like, like she was using me for stuff. And, like, I would have been more than happy. I mean, I wanted to, like, in any free moment I had, I was wanting to help with the kids. And I was wanting to help with her home and ease things for her. But she didn't want that, and that ties in with her older sister, and that's a whole nother story that I'll get into sometime. But yeah, she placed those two boundaries. But anyway, there were no issues. We were not estranged when I was staying at her home. So then the second 3 months, I moved over to my oldest daughter's home, and she's a much more easygoing person than my middle daughter. There were no boundaries set. I could do what I want, help if I wanted, not help if I want. She loved me helping with the kids, picking them up from school and daycare, and I did all that, and everything was great, and there was no issue with her at her home either. But it was while I was staying at her home, the oldest girl, that my middle daughter started her, whatever you want to call it, started her showing her anger toward me. And so my oldest daughter at the time, she seemed just as perplexed as me about what was going on with that. So, you know, the whole time I was trying to work things out with the middle daughter was when I was staying at the older daughters, and it was just, I don't know, it seemed kind of like a jealousy thing between the girls. But that's my speculation, based on a couple comments that she's made. But anyway, there was no problems with the oldest daughter either while I was staying there, and I eventually moved out. It was a little longer than 3 months due to my house money being held from me, which is another story I talked about in my video about my 3 daughters. But I'm not sure, maybe it was 5 months I was there, but I got out and I got my own apartment. By then my youngest daughter had also moved to Florida, and she and I were sharing an apartment. And it wasn't until after I lived in that apartment for a year, and I met my wife, and a year after I met my wife, we got married. And it wasn't until after we were married that my oldest daughter and I became estranged. So it was several years after the middle daughter. But I hope that answered the question. But anyway, there was nothing at either one of my daughter's house while I was staying there. There were no obvious issues that I'm aware of. So I hope that answered that question. Moving on, I had talked about myself being in some family estrangement support groups, and somebody was wanting to know how you find these groups. And the groups that I am in are on Facebook, And there are a ton of groups. All you have to do, if you're on Facebook, just type Estrangement in the search bar and look under groups and choose the one that pertains to you. I mean, there's all kinds. There's for parents who have a estranged daughter, parents who have a estranged son, estranged children, support for estranged parents. The two that I'm in, one is called Mother of Estranged Daughters, and the other one is When They Walk Away, a support group for estranged parents. And I will link both of those specific groups in my description. Just choose whatever you want. When I found those groups, I looked for ones that had a lot of members and were very active, because when you search the groups, you can see how many posts a day typically come in. So I wanted ones that were very active, and I think that was my first eye-opening experience with how common this is and how we are not alone, and how there's some really strange similarities between how some of these adult estranged children treat us amongst others all around the world, really. So yeah, I'll link those in the descriptions. The next question. Somebody wanted to know if my mom talks to my daughters. It would be her granddaughters. And yes, as far as I know, they do have a relationship, always have. Never been an issue there. My mom had never treated her grandchildren the way she treated me. I was singled out. Like I said, as a family scapegoat. It was just me. She did not treat my girls the way she treated me. And she had withheld me from a set of grandparents as a child that I dearly loved. And I know hate's a strong word, but I really hated her for doing that. Especially because after I was again allowed to have a relationship with them, my grandfather passed away. So I didn't have much time, and I was just devastated. But I never wanted to do that to my girls. I mean, it would have been different if she had been treating them the way she was treating me, but she didn't. I only had to put a boundary on that situation one time, because if you listen to my video that I talked about the situation with my mother and me, she is a drinker, and I forbid her to take them in the car while she was drinking, which I think is a logical thing. This same person also said that I should talk to my mom because she might be different now, and that I should forgive her. So let me say, I have forgiven my mom, but I don't want a relationship with her. I hope she is different. I hope she's different for her own peace and her own sake. She did reach out to me once through one of my sister-in-laws, but she put a condition on our reconnection, and the condition was that I was not allowed to speak of any issues that we had. So I declined that offer. If she was ever willing to come forward and talk, I don't care if she disagrees or agrees with me or anything. I just want somebody to talk. Just talk like a human with common decency. So, and I know she's older. She would be in her late 80s now. She is still alive, and no, I don't regret anything as far as she's concerned. I never cut my mother off until I was 42 years old. I waited till my children were grown. I took a lot of shit from her, but I don't have any regrets. I did the best I could at the time. I should have done things different. I should have stood my ground, but then again, I didn't want my kids not to have a grandmother, so, I just did the best I could at the time, and That's all I can say. I guess that's it for the questions for today. Yeah, I just want you to know I'm not here to pass blame on anybody. We're all human. Nobody's perfect. We all make mistakes. I especially make mistakes. I still make mistakes. I make mistakes every single day. All I ever asked, like I said, with any of my family members is to have a healthy and respectful conversation. I don't think anything that's been done by anybody here has been worthy of just tossing away the entire relationship. I think that's ridiculous and silly. I'm more than willing to meet anybody halfway. I'm not looking for it. I don't expect it. I don't want a relationship with disrespectful people. That's not in the cards for me anymore. I grew up being mistreated by my mother, or by my ex-husband, and you naysayers can say all you want that I'm the common denominator, and it's my fault. And you can say it, doesn't make it true. But nobody can work alone. So regardless, I'm not here to put fault on anybody. It's everybody's fault. But if you can't have a respectful, decent conversation and have human dignity, then you can't do it alone. So I'm not going to sit around holding my breath and waiting. Anyway, I guess that's it for my this question and answer. Thank you so much for listening. Continue to ask your questions. I'll keep note of them and do another one like this in the future. And thanks. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.